I thought the worst betrayal of my life had already happened. I had no idea the woman standing in front of me was about to change everything. When my fiancé left me for my own sister, people expected me to be angry. Instead, I just disappeared. I buried myself in work, avoided family gatherings, and convinced myself that some wounds didn't deserve stitches. A month later, my apartment building flooded after a broken pipe burst. The landlord sent me to check on another tenant whose ceiling had collapsed. That's how I met Evelyn. She was 46, calm in a way that made the room feel quieter. Her sleeves were rolled up as she tried to save books from the soaked floor, pretending she didn't need help even while balancing on a chair that looked ready to give up. "You're going to fall," I said. "I've been telling myself I won't." "So has that chair." For the first time that day, she laughed. We spent the afternoon moving furniture, drying photographs, and arguing over whether old coffee-stained novels were worth saving. She talked more than I did, filling the silence with stories about terrible landlords and burnt dinners. I mostly listened. When the work was finished, neither of us seemed in a hurry to leave. She handed me a mug of coffee that had gone lukewarm while we worked. "Sorry," she said. "I keep forgetting to drink it. It's still better than being alone." The words slipped out before I could stop them. She looked at me for a long second, not with pity, but with the kind of understanding that made me want to look away. Then her fingers brushed mine as she took the empty mug back. She didn't pull away. Neither did I. And that's when my phone rang, with my sister's name lighting up the screen. I let the phone ring until it stopped. Evelyn didn't ask who it was. She simply set the mug in the sink and looked out the rain-speckled window. "You don't have to answer things you're not ready for," she said quietly. There was something in the way she said it, as if she'd practiced those words on herself. The apartment was still a mess. Damp cardboard boxes lined the hallway, and family photographs rested on towels across the dining table. One frame had cracked down the middle. In the picture was a smiling man beside Evelyn, both younger, both laughing. "My ex-husband," she said when she noticed me looking. "He loved that photo." Loved? "He left almost a year ago." She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's strange," she murmured. "Sometimes you miss the routine more than the person." I nodded because I understood. I didn't miss my ex-fiancé anymore. I missed believing someone had chosen me. The silence settled between us, comfortable instead of awkward. She tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear, then knelt to sort through another water-damaged box. Without thinking, I joined her. Our shoulders brushed. It shouldn't have mattered. She was 23 years older than me. But I noticed everything. The tiny scar near her wrist. The tiredness she tried to hide with quiet smiles. The way she thanked me for every little thing, as though she wasn't used to anyone staying. Outside, the rain grew heavier. "I don't think you'll make it home before the storm gets worse," she said, almost apologetically. Then, after a small pause, she rested her hand lightly on my forearm. "You could stay a little longer." I opened my mouth to answer. What I almost said would have changed everything. I should have left. Instead, I found myself helping Evelyn move the last of the damp boxes into her spare room while the rain hammered against the windows. Every excuse to stay sounded practical. None of them were honest. "You've done enough," she said. "I know." Neither of us moved. She unfolded a faded blanket and spread it across the floor so the photographs could dry. As she reached for the corner, her foot caught the edge of the rug. I reacted before thinking. My hand caught her waist. Her hand landed against my chest. For one suspended heartbeat, neither of us spoke. I could feel her steady breathing beneath my fingertips. She looked up at me, searching my face as though she wanted to ask a question neither of us was ready to hear. "Thank you," she whispered. I let go immediately, taking a step back. "I'm sorry." "For what?" "I don't know." A faint smile crossed her lips, soft enough to disappear almost instantly. Before either of us could say another word, someone knocked sharply at the apartment door. 3 quick knocks. Evelyn's shoulders stiffened. I wasn't expecting anyone. She opened the door only a few inches. A delivery driver handed her a small envelope requiring a signature before leaving without another word. She stared at the handwritten name on the front for several seconds before setting it on the kitchen counter untouched. "You don't have to open it," I said. "I will." She exhaled slowly. "Just, not while you're watching." I nodded and reached for my jacket. This time I really was going to leave. My hand was already on the doorknob when I heard her voice behind me. "I've spent a long time pretending I'm fine." I turned. She was still standing beside the unopened envelope, her eyes fixed on me instead of it. "I don't want to pretend tonight." I knew I should walk out that door. Instead, I took one step back toward her. I stopped only a few feet away from her. The rain had quieted outside, but inside the apartment every small sound seemed louder: the ticking kitchen clock, the drip of water into a bucket, the slow rhythm of our breathing. Evelyn looked down at the envelope before sliding it across the counter. "It's from my ex-husband," she said. "You don't have to read it now." "I know." She didn't touch it again. Instead, she leaned against the counter, folding her arms as if she were holding herself together. "You know what the hardest part was?" she asked. I waited. It wasn't that he left. A faint laugh escaped her. It was realizing he'd stopped choosing me long before he walked out the door. The words landed harder than she probably intended. I looked away for a moment. "My fiancé chose my sister," I admitted. After that, I started wondering if there was something about me people eventually stopped wanting. The room fell silent. Evelyn crossed the space between us without saying anything. Her fingers found my hand. Not to pull me closer, not to make a promise, just to remind me someone was standing there. "You shouldn't think that." "I try not to." "But you still do." I nodded once. She didn't let go. Our hands stayed together longer than either of us could pretend was accidental. I searched her face, noticing the hesitation in her eyes, the tiny breath she kept holding, the way she looked at me as though she was arguing with herself. "This is complicated," she whispered. "I know. People would have opinions. They always do." A fragile smile appeared between us. It almost made everything feel simple. Almost. Her gaze drifted from my eyes to my lips before she caught herself and stepped back half a pace. "Tell me something," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "If neither of us had a reason to be afraid." She paused. "What do you think we'd do next?" Neither of us answered. Neither of us looked away. Neither of us looked away. For a moment, I thought the hardest part was admitting what was happening between us. I was wrong. The sound of my phone vibrating on the kitchen counter broke the silence. I already knew who it was before I picked it up. My sister. Evelyn noticed my expression. "You should answer." I almost didn't. But something inside me was tired of running from everything that hurt. I accepted the call. "Why are you calling me?" There was silence on the other end. Then her voice. "I need to tell you something." I looked at Evelyn. She quietly stepped away, giving me space, but I could see the worry on her face. "What?" My sister took a shaky breath. "The reason I left you, it wasn't because of her." My grip tightened around the phone. "What are you talking about?" "I made a mistake. A terrible one. But before everything happened, I found out something about Evelyn." My eyes moved toward her. Evelyn froze. "What did you find out?" My sister hesitated. She knew. The room suddenly felt colder. "Knew what?" "That I was going to hurt you." I stared at Evelyn. She didn't defend herself. She didn't deny it. And somehow, that silence hurt more. After I ended the call, I stood there trying to understand the person in front of me. "You knew?" I asked. Her face changed. Not fear. Regret. "I knew your sister was making a decision that would destroy you." "Then why didn't you tell me?" "Because I promised her I wouldn't." The words hung between us. A promise. A choice. A secret. "I thought I was protecting you," she whispered. "And now?" She looked down. "Now I don't know if I protected you, or just became another person who decided what was best for you." For the first time since I met her, Evelyn looked unsure. And I realized the woman who made me feel seen was also the woman who had been hiding something from me. I took a step back. Not because I stopped caring. Because suddenly I cared too much. "Tell me everything," I said quietly. Her eyes met mine. And this time, there was nowhere left to hide. Evelyn didn't speak for a while. She sat on the edge of the couch, staring at the floor between us. The same woman who had handled broken furniture, ruined photographs, and an entire flooded apartment suddenly looked like she didn't know how to hold herself together. "I should have told you," she said. I stayed quiet. "Not because your sister asked me to. Not because I was afraid of what would happen. Because you deserved the truth." The honesty in her voice hurt more than an excuse would have. I thought I was helping you, she continued. I thought if I stayed quiet, you would have time to heal without more people tearing your life apart. And you decided for me. She nodded. Yes. No argument. No defense. Just the truth. That was somehow harder. I looked around the apartment. The same place where I first noticed her kindness. The same place where I almost forgot what betrayal felt like. I was angry because I thought you were like everyone else. Her eyes lifted. But you're not angry because I hurt you. I am. She swallowed. But I'm also angry because you mattered. The word surprised both of us. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she quickly wiped it away like she was embarrassed to be seen. I don't want to be someone you run to because you're broken. I stepped closer. You're not. Then what am I? I took a moment before answering. Someone who made a mistake, and stayed long enough to admit it. The silence between us felt different now. Not empty. Not dangerous. Just honest. She reached for my hand, but this time she stopped halfway. A question without words. I closed the distance myself. Not a perfect moment. Not a movie ending. Just two people who had hurt each other without meaning to, choosing not to walk away. I can't promise this will be easy, she whispered. I don't need easy. Her fingers finally held mine. Outside, the storm had ended. But for the first time in months, I felt like I wasn't standing in the middle of one. A few months ago, I thought my life ended the moment my sister betrayed me. I thought trust was something you lost once and never found again. I was wrong. Evelyn and I didn't suddenly have a perfect relationship. We still had difficult conversations. There were moments when my past made me pull away, and moments when her fear made her build walls around herself. But the difference was, we stopped pretending. My sister eventually apologized. Not with excuses, not with dramatic promises, but with the simple truth that she had hurt someone she should have protected. I accepted her apology. Not because everything was fixed. Because I didn't want my anger to control the rest of my life. As for Evelyn, she never tried to replace what I lost. She never told me she could heal every scar. She just stayed. And sometimes, that's the thing people need most. Not someone who saves them. Someone who sits beside them while they learn how to stand again. I still remember that first day in her flooded apartment. The broken photographs. The cold coffee. The woman who looked like she didn't need anyone's help. I was wrong about that too. She needed someone willing to see her. And somehow, she became the person who saw me. The strangest part about love is that it doesn't always arrive when your life is perfect. Sometimes it arrives when everything is falling apart. Sometimes the person you never expected becomes the one who reminds you that you're still worth choosing. Evelyn once told me that people spend too much time protecting themselves from getting hurt. Maybe she's right. Because if we only build walls, we might keep pain out. But we might also keep the right person from coming in. Did you enjoy the story? What kind of stories would you like to hear next?